What brought me to Italy was a backpacking adventure through Europe and love at first sight in Rome. And after about a year and a half, I decided to take the leap.
Welcome back to Teacher Tales, where we give you the keys to overcoming teacher burnout to find the work-life balance and educational bliss if it still exists. I'm your host, Tony Rambles, and on this episode of Teacher Tales, we gain insights into the Italian education system. Yes, how does it differ from the US? And we learn about teamwork in teaching diverse student populations. This will be part one of Teaching in Rome with Don. Don, welcome. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you on. I'm glad we were able to figure this out with the time difference. Please tell everybody where you are.
Well, thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Dawn. I am here with you from Rome, Italy.
Woo! Rome in the house.
Yeah.
Okay,
Buongiorno. Hello.
I don't want to bury the lead. How did you get there, and how did you get in education before we start to talk about all of the differences between the two, teaching here and teaching there?
Well, I did work in the States, partially in education, but I worked with adults as a support teacher, as an instructor for ARC. And also throughout my career, I worked with elderly and I worked with young people tutoring and so on. What brought me to Italy was a backpacking adventure through Europe and love at first sight in Rome. And after about a year and a half of going back and forth and writing out long-handed letters, I decided to take the leap and I moved here. And that's when I began my teaching career as an English teacher.
I guess going from teaching adults in the States and then deciding to take this adventure, I think is the best way to describe it. How did you start to go, okay, I think I want to stay here and I think I want to be a teacher here? Because those are probably two different discussions.
Yeah. Well, I knew I wanted to stay here. I really love Italy. I love everything about it. It's like any country. There's always the good, the bad, and the ugly wherever you go. And in the beginning, everything is magnified. But I was able to see past the magnification and really see the wonders of this country and the culture and how people are with each other. It was exactly the type of country I wanted to raise my family in. For the first time in my life, I wanted to actually have children and I wanted to raise my family here. And I appreciate the language and it gave me an opportunity to learn something new. And I fell in love with my husband. His family are wonderful. I fell in love with them. And it was just the right place for me to be. I started teaching adults originally here, and I moved on to teaching children over the years, and I found that I love teaching children the most.
So what grades do you teach?
I teach first through fifth grade. That's the entire elementary school cycle. And I teach English.
Did you? Yeah, go subjects.
English, but ESL English. So English is a second language. And I teach ICT, but just the basic level of ICT. So Paint and Microsoft Office, but with a strong understanding of it. And they do a lot of project work with that. Then I teach the environmental sciences or environmental studies. We have a particular topic that is shared with all the disciplines, so all the different subjects, called in Italian educazione civica, or in English civics education. Under civics education, there are different subtopics, and one of those is environmental studies, and that is my focus.
Wow, that is a breakdown. So do you have a team, or how do you prepare? Because that sounds like a lot of stuff to teach. So how does that work with a curriculum and your team and your teacher autonomy?
Well, that's a good question. Oh, excuse me. So we have a team of teachers for each class, and they'll vary. Not every teacher will teach in every class, except me. I have all the classes for English,
Well done.
and I have all the classes for environmental studies, and I have most of the classes for ICT. I have one colleague who is also a native English speaker who works with one of our colleagues who is the base teacher for ICT. And they work together with some of the smaller kids, the first, second, and third graders, where I have the fourth and fifth graders. How does it break down? The curriculum is broken down in 2 subjects. In my school, particularly, we are a trilingual school for the primary school. We have Italian and French as bilingual, and then we have English as a second language. Okay?
Wow.
And I am responsible for my end of the curriculum, which means I wrote my program and I update it as needed. Those of us who teach courses together, for example, the civics course is split up among different sectors, different teachers within per class. We get together at the very beginning of the year and to see if it needs to be updated. But we wrote the program for that based on the curriculum. The curriculum is based on the Ministry of Education, but my program is based on what I need to do. The right-hand side is the curriculum side. The left-hand side is how I'm going to meet the curriculum. My methodologies vary depending on the class, the age I'm teaching, and the class structure, because in this day and age, students are changing. We're seeing many more neurodivergent students and students with ADHD or on the autism spectrum. In Italy, I should say, all schools are schools of inclusion. We don't have separate classrooms specifically for students with special needs. Yes, we offer a separate space for them when they need to have time away from the energy or the chaos that can happen in a main classroom. But they are integrated into the class and they're part of the classroom. And that starts.
So is that even with kids with like severe needs? So
Absolutely.
On every end, everybody's
Absolutely.
integrated.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay.
And those with severe needs or those on the spectrum, which have a need where they have like a special need for a support teacher, they are provided with a support teacher. The state provides them so many hours every week that's covered by the state. The state covers that. And then the parents, if they want more hours, then they pay for a support teacher for the extra hours. Now, in our school, in particular, we work directly with an association of psychologists and psychiatrists who come to us to work with our students with special needs. So they have literally specialized support, which unfortunately it's not like that in all schools. We just happen to be really blessed, let's say. It works out really well.
Wow. Because here it depends on the severity of the kid. So they try to have them in the least restricted environment, which is, the phrase that's used where if you have special needs, you're still educated with your peers. So they don't want to just take all of the quote unquote special needs kids and put them all in one place and just teach them there. They want them to be able to cooperate and be in an environment and be with people that they probably have known and grown up with, right? They don't want to be isolated. So you all have done that too. Y'all just turn it up a level, and then y'all bring in those specialists to be able to help them.
Yeah.
I would love to see that classroom.
Yeah, it's
Just
actually
knowing,
really cool. Sorry.
yeah, just
Th-
knowing how tough it can be sometimes. Go ahead.
I was going to say that it's actually really cool because depending on the student and their support teachers, I'll give you an example. I have a third grade class with with a young lad with who is on the autism spectrum, and
Mhm.
when he first started, he was nonverbal. He could make some of his needs known through some gestures, through some signing, but he was pretty much
Mhm.
nonverbal. And now he sings songs in English. And now he says to me, "I love you,
Wow.
teacher," or asks to go to the toilet, maybe half in Italian and half in English and half in a gesture, but it's all there. And because he is in the class, um,
Mhm.
we get to learn songs and chants from like old school, like old England or old America that
Mhm.
that I normally wouldn't sing to these children in third grade,
Right.
especially. But the kids love it and they love him, and he is everyone's favorite and everyone's
Yes.
love and everyone's joy, and it's really it's really special. It's a real honor to be a part of that.
I agree because it takes the stigma off of them. Like, no, they can learn. They can progress. They can have fun. They're great people too, right? Because just because they see that they're different or the learning disability or the speech, that kind of thing happens. We have no control over it. But when they start to see the progression of that kid, they go, "Wow!" I think it's just something to witness for all of us, not just the teachers, but the kids too.
Exactly. They have become the absolute reason why they all have to get up there, right?
Hmm.
It's awesome.
So
It's awesome to see that.
how do because you talked about having a team and everybody kind of
Mhm.
does their part. How often are you in the classroom with other teachers having to co-teach?
Okay, yeah. I only co-teach, not including the support teachers. I mean, our support teachers are in the classroom when they have a student with special needs in that classroom.
Hmm.
And there's
Hmm.
one and sometimes two, depending on the situation, support teachers assigned to a student. And
Right.
in that moment, we we co-teach together. We come up with
Hmm.
ideas and activities for the day in order to stimulate that particular student, but also to create a cohesiveness in the class. Okay?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Otherwise, the only time I teach in class with another teacher is when I'm teaching information technologies. And I co
Mm.
teach with an Italian teacher who also happens to be the art teacher, and she teaches various other subjects as well. She's lovely, and we've been teaching together for as long as I've been there, 15 years. And she was actually an
Wow.
alumni of the school. And we only teach ICT 1 hour a week per class.
Hmm.
So that's the hour I have with her.
So how much freedom do you all teachers have as far as choosing how you teach what you teach? Things like grading and discipline. Like, how do these things kind of trickle down? Because over here, it's pretty much just you in the class and you just do what you do. As long
Mm-hmm.
as people aren't complaining on you, then a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times you just have that autonomy of your classroom. Of course, as long as you're not breaking the rules or doing anything like
Yeah.
illegal, you should be fine. But it varies, I guess, how much people have control over their own classrooms
Right.
because of the methods that they choose. So, how much autonomy do you all have as far as how things work in your class?
Well, obviously, within reason, we have full autonomy. Um,
Yes.
we should use a methodology that follows the ideals of learning how to read and write, obviously, to speak. Like, for example, I'm speaking about me
Mm.
because I'm teaching them a language. And what methodology can I use to help propose that. I have great books. They're online. It's great. So
Awesome.
if I have a kid that says, "Oh, I forgot my book at school. I can't do my homework." Say, "Oh, it's online. You can look up the book online." Great. Anyway, so they have great books that they use that also includes civics. The title of the
Mhm.
civics book for English is called Go Green and Kind. It's perfect. Talk about being kind to others and kind to your planet. Absolutely perfect. Um,
That just marriages everything.
it really does. It really does. So second year and fifth year students do state exams
Mhm.
that are, I believe, more for the ministry to see if teachers are staying in line with their methodology that they're using, that they're following the curriculum properly. Okay.
Mhm.
It's how they do a balance check, basically. And in second year, second grade, they have one for maths and Italian. And then in fifth grade, they have English, maths, and Italian. The English one is listening and reading and writing. We're really blessed. We work really hard with our students. We have a 30-hour course week.
It's like the days and times for that.
Yeah. So we start school at 10 past 8. They have to be in their class and sitting at 10 past 8.
Okay.
And they finish
Solid.
school at half past 3. In the morning, they have a
Okay.
20-minute break. After the second hour, they have a 20-minute break for a snack and time in the garden. We have a big playground with uh, um, soccer pitches and volleyball and tennis and a free play area with jungle gyms and swings and so on. And we go out there to supervise them. They're not there by themselves, obviously. Um,
Mhm.
and then they come back in, and then the little ones have 2 more lessons, 2 more hours before they go to lunch, and then an hour-long recess in that same garden.
Oh,
They can
I'm
also
so
do,
jealous.
I know, it's wonderful. I love it. They can also do, the parents can sign them up for an activity like violin or
Mhm.
dance or gymnastics. Um,
Extracurriculars.
Extracurricular, exactly. They can do that at that time. If they want to do a sport, like football, as in like soccer, would be done after school. So then they go back to class for 2 hours. Whereas the fourth and fifth graders have 5 hours in the morning with a 20-minute break, and then lunch, and then recess, and then 1 more hour in the afternoon. We also offer afternoon activities. So extracurricular
Mhm.
activities can include, like we can do crafts for the bazaar, for the Christmas bazaar, or other interesting activities like this. Um,
Right. Fun stuff.
yeah, exactly. Fun stuff. There's also choir that I do not participate in because I'm not a student. And we also have, like I said, sports, football, and so on. And there's also what we call dopo scuola, which would be like an after-school homework session that goes for one
Okay.
hour for the primary and 2 hours for the middle school. And teachers are present to help out if kids have difficulty. And there's always a
Mhm.
French and an Italian/math teacher in the classroom. And once or twice a week, English is in the classroom as well to help out with English homework if needed.
So that after school time can also be extracurricular or tutorial time for people who need help. So I want to circle back to the testing.
Ah, yes.
So here, the testing is a big deal. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, once the scores come out, that lets you know how much under the microscope you're going to be for whatever subject you teach. Thankfully, gratefully, I do not teach a testing subject, but I know that the it can get really tough. A lot of micromanaging happens in
Yeah.
those testing subjects. So, what does that look like when that time happens? Have you ever had an instance where the scores weren't up to. Oh, you're shaking your head. The scores are always up to par in your school. Oh, y'all
Yeah,
are such
well,
great
okay,
teachers.
we did have one. It wasn't in my subject. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very rigorous. I'm one of those teachers that will throw anxiety into my cup of coffee in the morning to get me through the day. And I work well under pressure. I work even better
Okay.
under pressure. So around report card time, when we have what do you
The
call
work's
the
happening.
meetings? I'm trying to remember the name of the meetings for
Parent teacher
teachers.
conference.
No, no, we have that too. But for the teachers meetings when they're prepping their report cards, do you guys sit down together? Like a scrutiny. We call it
Um.
scrutiny, where we sit down and we scrutinize the grades and decide, well, you know what? He did work really hard, so let's boost him up in this area a little bit. And oh no, she's not giving us
Oh, okay, okay.
anything. Leave her as is. We have those types of
So,
meetings, and those keep us on check throughout the year as well. Okay, as a group
that,
of teachers, these meetings, um, the collegial meetings, these types, collegio as in not religious, but as in the group of teachers. We
right.
have general meetings, and then we have those related to each classroom. So related to their grades, and is somebody having difficulty? Do we need to tell the parent?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to contact the parent, ask them to get some extra support for them at home or offer them after school help? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have to show that we're doing everything we can to ensure that a student does what they can do. We will always have
Yes.
students that don't perform perfectly or that do have lower
Right.
grades. Um, some people just have either whether it's a lower level of intelligence and it just their light bulb hasn't come on yet at this age, or
Mm-hmm.
cognitively, or they don't study enough. They're more involved in Nintendo and whatever they are than they are their books, and that happens. And we don't have to go to the Ministry of Education to say, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I had 3 students that they passed, but they didn't get great marks. I'm really sorry." We don't have to worry about that. Um, what we
That's
are
nice.
required is this testing that we do, and
Mm-hmm.
um, all the testing goes public. So I might not see the exact marks of my students, but my colleagues that correct them say, no, they did fine. Don't worry about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Parents can look it up. They all have a passcode and they can look it up and see how their student did and see how the
Ooh.
school did in general. So, it's not always the teacher because they have to do their homework, they have to study. You can't learn everything you
Mm-hmm.
need to learn in 3 hours a week. There's a lot. There's a
Right.
lot there to learn. So they have to use
So,
that out of class time also to do homework and to study and practice.
mhm. To get
So,
better. To get better.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I try to give homework that allows them to practice with their family, games and quiz night
Ooh.
and anything to show involvement because I think it helps their parent. I think sometimes parents kind of forget that they have kids. I hate to say that, but sometimes I get the idea. Sometimes I worry, maybe as a mother, I worry that maybe I'm not giving my own kids enough time. So I create this homework that involves the parents as
Mm.
well.
Here we do have ways for teachers do come together and they talk about. Usually it's around major grades like tests or projects. So a lot of times the individual grading, that's more of an email that's sent out. Hey, make sure you're doing everything that you have done to give the kids an opportunity to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you are reaching out to the parents.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that are understood and required. And if somebody fails, you're gonna have to show some paperwork. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I did, and
Yeah.
this is when I did it. They do come together, the teams, to talk about, okay, how did this project go with our kids?
Mm-hmm.
How did your kids do? How did your kids do? What are some areas that we could change? What are some things that we could tweak or move around? They do also get together when they give tests to ask the same questions. Okay, do we cover this component well? Or if your kids did well on, this thing and my kids didn't. Okay, well, what did you do? When you teach an elective like I do, which is communications or something like health or like a civics class, like you were talking about, a lot of times either you have one other person that you work with or you may not have anybody
Mm.
that you work with. So that makes us kind of do more like cross district meetings. So I'll talk to people who teach what I teach at the school down the road. So when we don't have somebody at the school with us teaching what we teach, you kind of got to be more proactive with reaching out to other people at other schools within the district to really get that information and to scrutinize the work. I think that's the word
Yeah,
that you
that's the
use.
word. Yeah.
Um, with grading, um, as long as you've given your students the opportunity to turn stuff in,
Hmm.
to retest is a big thing. So if somebody fails, they have to have an opportunity to retest
Yeah.
in order to bring their grade up.
Yep.
And as long as you are reaching out to parents, those things are, for the most part, going to cover you. I always tell my kids, I don't care about the grades. I care about the learning. And as long as you do the work, you'll get the learning and your grade will be fine. But
Definitely.
hopefully, along the way, we can get some tools, give them to the kids so that they can be better.
That is our episode for today. Teaching Abroad with Dawn Part 1. Of course, Part 2 is going to come out Thursday, and we're going to talk more about discipline. We're going to talk about technology and phones and how those things have been completely, well, I'll leave that for Thursday. But before we get out of here, remember, embrace life's changes. Dawn made the decision to move to Rome, and that's where basically the rest of her life started. Embrace these significant life changes and step out of your comfort zone. Number 2, cultural awareness matters. Obviously, teaching in a foreign country demands a deep understanding and respect for cultural differences. But no matter where you live or where you teach, you can take that from Dawn's journey as well. Respect the culture. And lastly, inclusive education is transformative, not just for you, but also for the other kids learning in the classroom. For more teacher tips on burnout and time management, join our Facebook group, Teaching Triumphs, Overcoming Burnout and Balancing Life. This is where we share applicable strategies and encourage each other on the journey through education. We know it can be stressful. Let's do it together. Until next time, keep teaching, keep learning, and I will see you all on the next journey.